Welcome everybody, Dan the Wolfman here. Today I'm going to try to give you the best scientific knowledge that no one else has given you, cut through the FUD lore, give you the real science about tissue crush in the age-old question, 9mm versus 45 ACP. Pay attention to those diameters. We're going to look at ball and we're going to look at the best hollow points, pretty much in a lot of people's opinions, federal HST, and we're doing that because not only do most people consider them some of the best carry ammo you can use, but because that's the real data that is available that I can get and I'm going to share with you from Vista in real gel, not clear gel. And that's part of the problem, is people's hearsay and everything else. So I'm going to do my best Paul Harrell type impression, best Chris Baker Lucky Gunner type impression, even though we're kind of throwing shade on him, but it's just because of the science, not personally. And we're going to throw a little bit of shade at John over at ASP as well. But most importantly, guys, with everything going on in the world, now is kind of the time to look at your carry choices, and we're going to compare the actual ballistics, the real science first, before we get into things like capacity, recoil, shooter's ability, and other variables. We're going to strictly look at the science first, both from Lucky Gunner data, which is really not as important as you people think. Clear gel is not as important as real data, Vista data, because this makes you believe things that aren't true, and mostly people's hearsay. And 9mm just as effective, just as good as a 45 per shot. That is absolutely unequivocally not true. Other people just repeat the hearsay, and then kind of because clear ballistics came along and that's what everyone started testing in, it is bad data. It's bad data, and even if you look at that data, you'll see it's not true by 1.5 times. And if you look at the real data, by over 2 times, 2.11, 2.11 times more tissue crush. I also will be sharing with you a couple firearms. The exact one Chris Baker used in Lucky Gunner. They're going to be staying in the holsters. I'm in my backyard. No one's around, open carry state. They're going to be staring in the holsters. The CWD-45. Got me thinking about it because I'm doing a review of this kinetic concealment holster, and they're also sending me an inside waistband holster. So that also got me thinking about good old 45 as well. I also have, this is my backup gun in jeans. By the way, it's so light. And my backup gun in shorts that I'm wearing now is the PPQ SC. Now this also has the 3.5-inch barrel that Chris Baker was using, Lucky Gunner. In the 9C, this would get a little extra velocity because of the polygonal barrel, but same barrel length. So that's something kind of important to realize, is barrel lengths for most people's carry as well. So let's start with tissue crush. What is tissue crush? That's what matters. We know that's what matters. How big a bullet going through the body like a laser, how big the hole is, that disrupts all that tissue. That's really more important than you think. Well, 45 versus 9mm, 355. It's a lot more important than that because it's the radius squared. I'll quote Faulkner in a second to kind of explain that to you. But how big the hole going through is how much tissue is destroyed. How much tissue is destroyed outside of a CNS shot, and even more tissue hitting near that spine. A CNS shot matters. Even more tissue hitting a heart shot placement. The bigger the hole, the more that heart or aorta or whatever chamber explodes. Momentum and size matters. Okay, they do. So you have to know how to calculate volume of a circle. The FBI did that in its original testing. So let me tell you, guys, I'm going to tell you why 45 is like 2 times more than 9mm shot for shot. I'm really going to explain it. And even ball is 62 or 0.623 times, 1.623 times what 45 ball versus 9mm ball. Here's Dr. Martin Faulkner, the guy who really knew the most about this going in. Dr. Martin Faulkner, who was pivotal to FBI's testing protocol. The size of the hole the bullet makes, the 45 is bigger than 9mm. And guys, 9mm guys don't hate. I carry both 9mm and 45, sometimes one each, sometimes both of each. That's what I do, especially in today's times. But bigger than the 9mm, but how much bigger by diameter really doesn't give you the measure how much tissue it disrupts. What it does is the area of the circle. Area of the circle, it was the pi r squared, it is the radius squared. So if you take your 45, take your 0.451 and your 9mm is your 0.355, take half, which is the radius squared, that, and you'll find what is the volume or the area of the damaged tissue made by the 45 is about 60% more than made by the 9. It's actually 0.623 or 1.623 times. So pi r height length. Original 10mm federal FBI load, guys, they put in their chart back in 89-90. They put in their chart the adjusted volume because it matters, and no one's telling you this. From a 4-layer clothing, let's go from the 5-inch barrel because that's what they initially issued. 931 feet per second, 7.24 inches penetration. Real gel, not clear gel. Huge difference. 0.547 diameter. Divide that by 2. 0.2735 by 17.24 inches of penetration. They listed 3.7 inch of cubic inches, which is 4.05. Why does that matter? Because yes, there has been advancement in bullet technology, though that's equal across the board, and we're doing far better with 9mm nowadays than before. That is true compared to 40 and 45, but 40 and 45 also get those advances, which nobody tells you. No, 9mm is not the same as 45. It is not. Now, with the best ammo, can it still be a good choice for you? Sure, I carry 9mm sometimes. My bedside pistol, because it's what I have a weapon-mounted light on and a holster that I can quickly throw in my pants. Right now, it's a 9mm. Mind you, long guns are available priority first, but I would, before leaving my room, I would try to put that in my pants as well. Tissue crush matters. Okay? 62.623 times more 45 ball versus 9mm. I'm going to compare that to cheap 9mm hollow points, the tech that was available before, and why some Fudlore is actually correct. Okay, so Lucky Gunner clear gel, which doesn't really matter, then Vista real gel, which is what really matters, and why this makes you think smaller diameter bullets do better than this. Lucky Gunner Chris does a great job, especially in pocket pistol testing and stuff like that, but he makes you think, clear gel makes you think pocket pistols and even 9mm do better and penetrate farther than they do. It's obvious when you compare clear gel to real gel. I'll let you look at some of the data really fast in case you want to pause. This is what matters a lot more than this. The data from Lucky Gunner, and barrel length matters as well. We'll get to that later if we have time. Lucky Gunner 3.5 inch barrel length, 124 HST, 1135 feet per second, 355 foot-pounds of energy, 18.3 inches of penetration. Wow, 9mm penetrates the most. That's clear gel, homies. It's not the same as real gel. 0.61 expansion. How about 124 plus P out of that 3.5 inch barrel? 1168 feet per second. That's what I actually carry, as you see here. That's what I actually carry in my 3.5 inch barrel. Okay, but how does that compare to the 230 grain HST? Look at the size difference. Look at the size difference. Okay, 124 plus P from 3.5 inch. Lucky Gunner 1168 feet per second, 376 foot-pounds of energy, 18.3 inches of penetration. Again, that's not true when we go to the real ballistics, you'll find out. 0.66 expansion, that's 5.34 tissue crush. That seems pretty amazing. Clear gel isn't real gel. 147 grain, 3.5 inch. I wouldn't go less than that, and 147 grain. 973 feet per second, only 309 foot-pounds of energy, muzzle energy. That's 3.5 inch. I wouldn't go less than that in 147. That's my opinion. 15.2 inches of penetration, 61 expansion, 5.63 cubic inch. That makes you go, oh, hey, 147 is pretty good. We'll get to that more if we have time. 45 out of 3.64 inch, not 3.62. I'm going not by Lucky Gunner, but by the manufacturer. This exact pistol from that 3.64 inch barrel. We got HST 230 grain. 822 feet per second, 345 feet per second, a whopping 7.944 cubic inches. Well, 7.944, like 8 is a lot bigger than 5.3 or 5.6, isn't it? That's a statistical difference. That's enough to matter, according to Paul Harrell. And yes, it's important to look at tests like that, John, and look at tests like bone test and board test, bone and board in front of water, in front of gel, and calculating it. It is important, but the most important is VISTA data, and then we use that other data to back it up. Okay, so 230 grain HST going 13.5 inches only in clear. Isn't that interesting? Compared to real? Yes, it's very interesting, all right? So, I'm sorry, going 14 inches in the clear gel in Lucky Gunner, 345 feet per second, 85 expansion, that's pretty whopping for 7.944 cubic inches. 230 plus P, 844 feet per second, because it's a short barrel, 3.74 or 3.64, only a little bit increase in feet per second versus compared to a 5-inch barrel, people. 4.9 inches of penetration, 7.9 expansion. Why? Because it's actually over expanding. Those petals are peeling back in clear gel more so than they do in real gel. That's a 7.3 cubic inch expansion. And throwing it out there, Golden Saber 185 plus P, 15.5 inches of penetration. That's what I carry in that pistol, though usually I prefer HST and other barrel lengths. 14.9 expansion, 14.9 penetration, 79 expansion. That's 7.3 cubic inches adjusted volume of tissue crush. If the people with YouTube channels don't know how to do adjusted volume, don't know how to calculate tissue crush, and don't know how important that is. Why is that important? Because outside of a CNS shot, and it's even important in CNS and heart shots, we explain that, bigger does more damage. Even outside of CNS shot, how someone eventually falls, if you look at all the real shootings on active self-protection and other places, it's diastolic pressure loss. It's a blood loss. Blood loss matters. That's what gets him the job. So, HST is only 1.485 times more tissue crush than 9mm in clear gel. Well, that's pretty significant, 1.5 times. But when you look at real gel, it's even more. But then people kind of go, well, they listen to the hearsay, 9mm, this is good 4 to 5. They listen to the hearsay. Now that FBI said that, we're just going to do it without actually looking at the data. But because of clear gel, 45 penetrates less, people go, well, penetration is most important, because it is. Penetration is the most important, followed by expansion, which gives you tissue crush. And then, yes, I think muzzle energy velocity matters. If you talk to any hunters, they do. All else being equal, though. That's a far tertiary compared to the penetration and then expansion, which gives you tissue crush. Let's look at, is it really true that 45 really penetrates less than 9mm? That's what clear gel makes you believe. That's not true. Let's look at VISTA real data. VISTA real data, 124 HST, 1150 feet per second, 364 foot-pounds of energy, only 12 inches of penetration, 59 expansion, 3.2 inch cubic inch. That's from a 4-inch barrel. VISTA 9mm is 4-inch barrel. 45 is not apples to apples, is tested out of a 5-inch barrel. But that's 4-inch barrel. So everyone carrying little 3 or 3.1 or 3.18 inch barreled pistols, or like John, active self-protection, 3.27, and yet he picks 147, which would get less than 300 foot-pounds of energy, which means when it hits bone, it's really going to it's not going to fully expand. It's only going to expand partially. Yeah, that's what all my knowledge tells me. That's a bad choice from an expert in such a short barrel, at least. 147, if you want to choose it in 4-inch, go ahead. If you want to choose it in 3.5 inch, go ahead. I want it, but if you want to, go ahead. To choose it in less than 3.5 inch, 147, even the best, like HST that does its best job expanding low velocities compared to other hollow points, definitely not a good choice, John, from a 3.27 inch barrel. Sorry, it's not. Doesn't even penetrate farther when you go, like you claim, when you look at the real data. So 124 plus P, my choice on 3.5 inch barrel, 13 inches penetration, 61 expansion, 3.799 cubic inches. That ain't bad. In fact, compare that to the FBI 180, which was because they knew the 185/45 performed well, even in windshield testing, which the 9 and the 38 didn't. Even compared to the old FBI 10 millimeter load, I'm running out of time, we're doing pretty good, even 9 millimeter by today's standards. That's true. 147 HST, 12.5 inch, again from a 4-inch barrel, not a 3.27 inch barrel or a 3.1 inch shield barrel or a 3.1 inch P365 barrel. Pay attention, people. 147 HST, only 12.5 inches. That's a ½ inch less than my choice, out of a 4-inch barrel. 69 expansion, 4.674 cubic inches. So you go by cubic inches, you think 147's better. I've seen enough bone testing, hitting bone, Paul Harrell, bone test, look up meat targets, look up board test, board in front of. 147, in my opinion, especially in shorter barrels, doesn't uniformly expand. It tends to just kind of push back on one side and not enough. Personally, I choose 124 plus P over that. I want to feel, if it's, as long as it's HST, I want to feel bad with 147, but know it. And I think most people that are hunters, consider themselves experts, say don't choose under 350 foot-pounds in your defensive pistol. So maybe you guys are choosing small, little, itty-bitty, easy-to-carry pistols with two short barrels with not plus P ammo, and it doesn't get even 300 in 147. I feel a lot more comfortable near that 350 foot-pounds of energy mark. People say it doesn't matter, but hey. All right, HST 230 grain, 13.5. 13.5, that's an inch longer than John's choice. 13.5 inch, 87 expansions, that's huge. 8.025, 230 plus P, 13 inches, 0.89. So we see, contrary to Lucky Gunner and Clear Gel, the plus P actually penetrates less because it expands more without over-expanding. You get more expansion, more penetration in the Clear Gel. So 0.89, 8.08 tissue crush. That's huge. So in ball, we get 3.55, 18 inches. You only go to 18 inches max because people aren't bigger than that in real gel. That's what FBI says. You calculate it up to 18 inches. That's what FBI said. Ball, 1.78. 9 millimeter ball sucks. It zips right through. 45 ball, does it suck? History tells us not really. It gives us 2.89 tissue crush. That's the 0.623 more, 1.623 more, depending how you calculate it. 62% more than 9 millimeter ball. That's true. 45 doesn't shrink. That's true. So basically, guys, cheap 9 millimeter, even if you compare to 124 HST out of a 4-inch barrel, which you guys aren't carrying, you're carrying less than that, most of you. 45 ball, real world, is approximately the same as cheaper 9 millimeter hollow points, especially if we go to shorter barrels, especially if it hits bone, and then you get a lead storm with cheaper jacketed hollow point. You get a lead storm, so it's really approximately the same, but the 45 isn't going to have failures. Cheap 9 millimeter hollow points is going to have some failures when it hits bone, and sometimes ricochets off depending on angle, and then does weird things in the body, and you get a lead snowstorm. They're really about the same, and or 45 ball. So preppers, you might want to think about 45 ball versus stocking up on cheap 9 millimeter hollow points. But if we look at bestest stuff, HST 230 plus P versus 147 in full barrels, fully expanded, which doesn't really happen with the 9 millimeter hitting bone in short barrels, in my opinion. 173% or 73% more. If we look at 230 HST versus 124 plus P, 2.11 times, over 2 times more, 45 to 9 millimeter. That's the truth. If you want to carry 9 millimeter, okay, sometimes I do. Sometimes I carry one each. Sometimes I carry 2 9. Sometimes I carry 245. Because I'm Dan the Wolfman, I do what I want because I'm a big guy and I know that these are lightweight pistols. And yet, guys, talking recoil and capacity, you can get things like SIS did. You can get some Glocks out there. You can get some other pistols out there that carry pretty good double stack 45 capacity. And in recoil, if you're a better shooter, even last year when I was less of a shooter, the recoil and split times